Rifle shield deployed. Deploying breach.
Op 4 left. Op 4 neutralized.
Thank you for watching our review of Rainbow Six Siege. This review is for the console version, and the entirety of my 40 hours of thus far gameplay time has been on the Xbox One version. However, I have done quite a bit of research on other people's experiences with the PC and PlayStation 4 versions and found that they are basically identical to mine. Let's start with one of the most important aspects of any video game, and that's the gameplay and concepts. Rainbow Six Siege is one of the most interesting shooters that has ever been developed for console or PC. In a time when almost every single shooter on the market is going for the fastest and most complicated methods of traversal and gunplay, Rainbow Six takes the exact opposite approach, attempting to slow things down much more than perhaps any tactical shooter has ever done before. Here, strategy is the most important thing that either team can take into battle with them. At the beginning of every round, both teams pick which operators they want to use. These characters have a specific set of weapons and a special skill or tool that allows them to do something that no other character can do. At the preparation phase, which begins as soon as the level has loaded, both teams have an opportunity to either begin to fortify their setup if they are the defenders, or to survey the environment if they are the attackers. Seen here, the attackers get small, difficult to detect, and very quick drones that allow them to discover where the defenders are hiding the objective, which can be a hostage, a biohazard chemical bomb, or an area to secure. From here, the attackers are able to mark exactly where the defenders are and get a good feel for what kind of defenses the defenders have set up to make it more difficult for the objective to be reached. Every single round can be ended if one of the two opposing teams has been eliminated, and every single game mode is a one life game mode. So if you're killed, that is the end of the round for you, and you're forced to spectate until the round concludes. One of the most interesting things about Rainbow Six is the fact that the gameplay can change from round to round depending on what strategies the defenders or the attackers use. Every piece of the environment that would be destructible if it was shot or blown up is destructible. That means windows can be shot out, walls can be blown up, and if you're hiding behind soft cover, which includes unreinforced walls, bookcases, or other wooden objects, almost every type of bullet will be able to penetrate it, and explosives will kill you through them. This creates an interesting dynamic where, depending on where reinforcements are placed, which operators are chosen on both sides, and the strategies employed by either team, rounds can play out drastically different from one round to another, even with the same teams or environments. This brings up one of Rainbow Six's most interesting quirks and most fatal flaws. Rainbow Six has some of the most replayability of a multiplayer mode shooter that I have ever seen. However, most of the replayability is largely dependent upon the maps. Some of the better designed maps and the ones that feature a greater amount of destructibility are much more entertaining and more fun to play than the ones that are more simple or feature far fewer destructible elements. This wouldn't be a big deal if there was more variety in the gameplay, but despite the fact that there are a few different modes that are available in the multiplayer suite, all of them basically play out to be exactly the same. This is due to the fact that almost every objective is much more difficult to secure than killing the enemy team is, especially due to the fact that most successful strategies for defending the objectives end up with the entire team staying in the same area simply because survival in numbers is key. Ubisoft is doing their best to try and foster variety throughout the multiplayer modes, however, and they have released 2 free maps and 4 free operators, 2 attackers and 2 defenders thus far, with more regularly scheduled updates to come. That brings us to our next topic, replayability. You'll notice that I have not made any mention of a single-player mode thus far. That's on purpose. Despite the fact that there are a couple of different modes that allow you to play by yourself, make no mistake, Rainbow Six Siege should be viewed as an online multiplayer shooter only. If you're buying it with anything else in mind, you're going to be sorely disappointed, as there are not very many modes available. A great portion of what will be drawing you back to play more and more will actually be the operators, weapons, and attachments themselves. Much like every other multiplayer shooter on the market today, Rainbow Six Siege does have a sort of progression system. Every single game that you play and every action that you take is rewarded with what's called renown, which are the points by which you can buy operators, attachments, and collectibles. A brand new element that was just added in with the new 3.0 patch. Each operator is broken into a group, whether it be the FBI SWAT, the GIGN, or Spetsnaz. And each character gets an intro sequence like this one.
I've learned from experience that the place to save lives is in the field, not an office. And sometimes, the only way to save a life is to take one.
These sequences, combined with the intros to each one of the situations, which are Rainbow Six Siege's versions of training levels, make you wonder how much more could this game have been if it had a single-player mode, or a story of any kind, really.
Due to the heavily fortified nature of this location, we have very limited intel. You need to recon the site to find an insertion point. Locate the hostage and plot a path to the target. Thermite is equipped with the Brimstone, an exothermic charge that can cut through metal, granting you access through heavily fortified walls and floors.
So, this brings us to our final aspect. Is this game really worth your money? I find this actually a bit of a difficult thing to determine. Because the game is still full priced $60, and to get the full value out of the DLC that's coming and has already come out, the season pass is an additional $30. To get the full experience right away, forced to pay $90 for a game that's only multiplayer. Now, normally this would be a no-brainer. I would tell you, no, don't buy it. It's way overpriced. Wait till it goes down in price. But the more that I play the game, the more I find myself wanting to go back and play it more. The different aspects of strategy, the team-centric attitude that you have to have in order to be successful, the grind of continually leveling up your ranked stats and earning renown to buy more operators, and the constantly changing metagame as each new operator and map is released makes it one of the most fun gameplay experiences I think I've had in the last generation. The multiplayer in this game is unmatched in its complexity, its strategy, and its fun. It almost makes it worth it to pay the $90 to get the full experience. In the end, it comes down to how much you're willing to play a multiplayer only game. If you're interested in a story, complex characters, or something that you can do by yourself, this is not the game for you. But if you have friends that like to play the game with you, and you can get a team together routinely, there are moments in this game that are unmatched by any multiplayer shooter I've ever played. Despite its flaws and its lack of content, I think that Rainbow Six is one of my favorite games of this generation, and I definitely plan on continuing to play it. Because of this, we give it an 8.5 out of 10.